For my observation, I observed at the Ashland Independent Child Care Program, and it's also blended with the Family Resource Centers in our district. I went for my first one and just observed the environment, looked at the walls in the classrooms, and on the walls there were the emergency board had all the postings. It included the license, inspections, the star ratings, emergency info, like a fire evacuation, and all kinds of community resources such as the HANDS program, libraries, pathways, and those types of things. I took a look through the binder that the director had of the paperwork that she had to go to on a daily basis. There were meal count papers. Each staff had a folder with their application in it, and their references, their background checks, their TB skin test results, and their emergency contact information. And there was also a list of the children that were enrolled in that binder. Each child had their individual folder, and in that folder, they had the child's application, any health complications or allergies, or health alerts like asthma, and it also had their emergency contact sheet of who could pick them up, where they lived, the phone numbers, and it had their immunizations, their birth certificate, receipts for payment, any IEPs, if any of the children had IEPs in place already, or in custody papers. Some children had custody papers, or they were in the guardianship of another person besides their biological mother and father. I also got to talk to the director in that same visit. We talked about budgeting, because at that time I was working on the budget assignment. Theirs was a little bit different because where they were blended with the family resources, they do have some money coming in from the district as well as the child care payments, but the staff was fully paid through with the child care payments instead of the district's money. The only thing the district pays for in the building is the building itself. They own it, and the electric and water. We also spoke about the pros and cons of her job. She likes being able to help the teachers figure out the best things that the children need and how to make the environment welcoming and safe for all of them. And she likes being able to be with the children without having the responsibilities of teaching in a classroom. The cons were obviously all the paperwork that she had to do, and the stress of finding money, making sure they had enough money to pay the staff, the stress of grants and paperwork, and managing the staff in general was stressful. She had one staff member at the time who was no longer working there that they were having issues with, and that was really stressful for her to try to solve that problem. People look up to her, she said, for answers to anything and everything. Even if she doesn't always have them, she has to help them come up with solutions to their problems. The next time I went and observed there was for a staff meeting. It lasted about an hour. The coordinator, the director, the parent liaison, and 3 staff members were attending that meeting. It was a pretty simple run-of-the-go staff meeting. They had a little bit of refreshments, and everybody got a copy of the agenda. The coordinator spoke first. They were getting ready to start preparing for an event that they were going to help host called the Child Abuse Prevention Event. It was going to be at a local movie theater, and each family would get a free movie ticket to go see the new movie and popcorn and a drink. And then they would go get a swag bag after that had information and extra little goodies for the kids. A lot of child abuse prevention information, community resources, and things like that. The director spoke about things that the staff needed to work on. In their case, they needed to work on making sure the tables were being cleaned properly, with the right cleaning solution, the bleach solution, at the right times, the right waiting times before the children could come back to those tables. And positive interactions were briefly mentioned with the children, just they're switching over to using a different curriculum and adding a social emotional curriculum that kind of changes the way that they talk to the children and discipline the children. Attendance and meal counts were talked about. With COVID slowing down, their attendance had came back up, so that meant more money and saying things like that. They talked about meal counts and how to properly document those. So instead of just saying everybody got a snack after school, they had to wait until all the kids actually got their snack at their seat and then count it instead of prior to them getting it. The parent liaison talked about communicating with families more and consistently. She offered them examples of a communication log, newsletters, and with their new curriculum they're going to use, they have letters already made up for them. When they switch their study units, like from insects to clothing, they can send a letter home telling them what their kid's going to be learning about. Let's see, they set a date for the next staff meeting, and then that was it for that meeting. The next time I helped prepare for that event, I helped them stuff the bags for the child abuse prevention event, and then during the event I helped them at the table, getting people in line, answering questions, and just helping out any way I was needed. The budget assignment that we did was the most eye-opening, and I gained the most information from it. I was oblivious to how things were handled on the administration side, especially in my center. We're a blended program, so if we need anything, we pretty much just ask for it and we get it. So when I did the budget and had to watch what I was spending and how I was spending it, what I was spending it on, that was hard. Listening to the speakers of that topic, you could tell that it was stressful. Having to make sure you could pay your staff, feed the children, pay the bills, and where you were going to get all this money from. When I did the assignment, I wanted to make sure the teachers were being paid a fair amount. Being a teacher myself, I know that it's we could use a little more money, but once I got into it, it was hard to do that and still have money left over for other things. With the rent going up around and the electric bills getting higher, that was hard. The meal planning was a little bit easier for me. I have a big family. I have 4 kids, a husband, so I have to plan meals quite often, but I don't have all the requirements stacked on my grocery list as well, so that was a little hard, trying to find things that met the requirements so that we could get the meal reimbursement. And the serving amounts and the family style planning or eating. The serving amounts was hard because a lot of my kids here, I know they eat thirds and fourths and fifths if we can give it to them. So the All-Stars was new to me. We don't use that where I work. We use Eckers, Fidelity, Class, but we've never done the All-Stars. But it's important, I know, for centers to be doing what they're supposed to do and having somebody make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to do when they're supposed to do it. That helps the children be safe. It helps them get the quality, education that they deserve. So it also helps the centers have guidelines to go by. That helps knowing what you're supposed to do and what's expected of you. The most valuable thing I got from the course and my observations with the administration side of it is hard too. As a teacher, I only get to see one side of the equation, and it takes both sides to make everything run smooth. I value my director now more than ever before. I was the most surprised about the cost of running a center and the regulations. I've never had a desire to do administrations before, and honestly, I still don't. After this course, I'm probably even less likely to do administration. The stress of all the requirements and the billings make me nervous. That's a lot of responsibility, a lot of pressure, and there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes of a child care center. It's not just, hey, let's open the doors and bring some kids in and play. There's the interviewing, the hiring, the budgeting, the meal planning, trainings for the staff. There's just a whole lot more that goes into it than you think about. Ensuring that there are let's say 30 kids kept safe, fed what they're supposed to be fed, having a well-rounded education, enlightened staff members, keeping them informed, and up to date on their professional growth. There's a lot that goes into it that you don't think about when you're in the classroom with your little people hanging out all day. So I did learn a lot. I still don't want to go into administration, but it was enlightening.